What's something that isn't illegal but should be? For example, like gambling or alcohol.
I like that gambling is legal for like Westerners, and
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that it is illegal for Koreans because I know in the past there's been a lot of problems with gambling, especially with financial crises and things like that. So I think like if there hadn't been historical problems with it and there hadn't been a lot of families losing a lot from it, then I think it would be okay to keep it legal. But I think because like you see like even in the Gangwon-do like casinos and stuff where people can go and buy like cars from people who are trying to like gamble too much. It's like a place where one of the few legal casinos for Koreans. So it's a place that sometimes Koreans will go and buy cars very cheaply there because people are so desperate for money to keep gambling.
Oh goodness, yeah.
So I think there is like some good point in that. But I think if you have the ability to self-regulate, it could be good to have it be legal, but I think it provides more negative than positive benefits.
Do you think it's okay that foreigners can gamble but Koreans cannot?
I think it's hard to have that double standard, and especially for Koreans to not be able to gamble overseas, I think makes it a little bit difficult. Especially being an international couple, it could be fun to like go to Vegas and go to like a casino, or when we visit my family in Canada, being able to like go to gamble together.
Good point.
But because he's Korean, that would be like impossible. I could go with friends, but he can't come with me, so that makes it a little bit challenging.
In Korea, you can turn away certain customers, like a no children zone or no one above 60 is allowed.
Or no pets.
Yeah, so like, I just don't really agree with saying, oh, you're a foreigner, you can't come into this business. Those type of, I think that should be illegal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's kind of discriminating against old people. I know that the culture's different, but still.
Can I play devil's advocate?
For sure, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Just for a conversation.
Yeah.
What if I'm like strongly religious and I just don't want to make some kind of service? I think there was a case about a guy making a cake for a gay wedding. There was a religious reason behind that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
See, it's so tricky because
It is tricky. There's no right answer.
Yeah, because you have
way.
to think of the other side too. Like,
Forcing them to
yeah, you can't
do something.
force. Like, if you say, I don't want to make a cake for you because you're this and that, then it works the other way too. Like, I don't want to give this to you because you're this and that, because you're religious. I don't want to give you service. So I think I think it just gets complicated. Like, where do you draw the line? So, yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know, but I think you have to be fair for everybody.
What's something that isn't illegal but should be? Like, for example, gambling or tattoos or alcohol.
Prostitution.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places over here that are they label themselves as like massage parlors, but then the ads and stuff and like the prices that you can pay to get the happy ending.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing that I would say probably shouldn't be legal, but is at least here.
So if you were to create a country, an island, you would outlaw that.
Probably, yeah.
What are the consequences to society of prostitution?
It's more of just the selling the body aspects of it.
Sure.
It puts on this sort of stigma that people are only there to sell their bodies or to show off their bodies. A lot of culture goes around the fact that if you're wearing clothes that are revealing, it automatically means that you're looking for attention when that isn't the case. It could just be your style.
So you relate that to prostitution?
Yeah, I do. A lot of that could be connected to that. If you wear anything less than like a full long sleeve, or like if you show a little bit of skin somewhere, they're immediately thinking, oh, they're being skimpy or something like that.
Interesting. So if that was all outlawed, then that would really change the connotation.
I don't know if it would change if it was outlawed. I still think it would be around because prostitution was kind of the creation of currency and how we do trade.
The old job, yeah.
Yes. It's been around since money was a thing. There was actually a study done between birds and monkeys. When they did that experiment on monkeys, they gave money away for sexual favors in return for being able to pay for the food.
Wow. Monkeys.
영어로 들으면 어떤 말인지 대충 알겠는데 입으로 말하려고 하면 말문이 막히시죠? 그래서 제가 줌으로 진행하는 1대1 코칭을 시작했습니다. 개인 맞춤 피드백을 받고 빠르게 실력을 올리고 싶은 분들께 정말 좋아요. 하지만 오프라인으로 배우는 걸 더 좋아하시는 분들도 계시죠? 홍대 신촌 인근에서 소수정예 스피킹 그룹 수업을 진행하고 있습니다. 90분 꽉 채워 영어로 말하는 연습을 합니다. 영어를 자연스럽게 말하고 싶으신 분들은 아래 링크에서 자세히 확인해보세요. 소수 정원으로 빠르게 마감될 수 있습니다. See you in class.
Seed oils.
Seed oils.
Seed oils should be illegal.
Yeah.
A lot of the things they put into food in the Western culture,
Yeah, right.
dyes, half the stuff you read the ingredients and you don't know what it says.
High fructose corn syrup, red dye number 47.
Yellow 80.
Yeah, yellow number 80, yeah. There should be stronger regulation in that regard.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just think eating like whole foods is better for your health. Less processed, the better.
What's something that's legal, you can do it, but you think should be illegal?
Fast fashion. I think that should be illegal.
Tell me more.
I think the clothing industry has went away from like organic pieces.
Yeah.
I think everyone just kind of gets caught into like the trends of what's currently happening on like TikTok and Instagram. They just like clothing companies just like mass produce like trendy clothes for that season, and then right after it's done, they take it off and burn them or
just throw them out.
Yeah, and then it gets caught into like our ecosystem, and it's just not good for us. It's not good for like the wildlife around us. And then sometimes it actually ends up in the ocean, which kills the ocean more, which is already in poor condition. So.
You know, that's a great point. I was at like a business lunch months ago, and I was talking to someone, and I was like, that's a really cool shirt.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, I bought it from this store. I'm not going to name the store. And then he was like, it was really cheap. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. He's like, yeah, but it's going to fall apart soon, so I'm just going to throw it out.
It's either going to fall apart, or it's going to fade, or it's going to shrink,
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm just like,
It's going to go in the trash. It's going to go in some landfill and end up somewhere. It's very wasteful and
Very
creates a lot of
wasteful.
pollution, actually.
It does.
It's a great answer.
Like at home pet breeding.
Pet breeding.
Yeah, to me that's really inhumane, and it's not safe for the animals. I used to be a dog handler, so it's just I have a really soft spot in my heart for dogs. So seeing dogs being inhumanely treated, or seeing them give birth and then their puppies just get treated like shit, that really upsets me.
Or immediately taken away from them.
Yep, I hate that. I think animals they need more respect, they need more love. They have minds of their own, and they also can experience a lot of trauma. So if you have a pet, love them. Damn it.
I mean, alcohol should be illegal, but I like me a little drinker, so like I like me a little drinker too.
Guilty.
Yeah, guilty, yeah. But yeah, like taxes.
Taxes.
I hate taxes.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're pretty bad, right?
yeah.
Especially for Americans.
Oh yeah, especially for Americans.
Man, we fought wars to get out of taxes, and now we're just paying them,
Yeah,
you know, in such high amount, right?
exactly. Yeah, like taxes. That's probably all I got. I hate taxes though. I hate taxes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'd probably say abortion.
Oh, it's not illegal, but it should be. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Can you tell me more? I guess you believe in life starts on conception.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of see, I guess, the world through like the Bible, through a biblical lens. So I would say that all human life has value because God has given value to every human life. And like you said, I believe life starts at conception. So as humans, I don't think we have the right to dictate whether we should take life or not. And I know there's certain circumstances
Yes, sure.
that are hard to work through.
Yes.
But that does not represent the majority of why people get abortions.
Fair enough. Yeah. So it should be illegal. We should really limit that as an option.
I would say, yeah, and I also think that would help promote people take responsibility for their actions. And so if you're going to go around and make decisions, whether you're intoxicated, not intoxicated, whatever it may be, you are responsible at the end of the day for what you do.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be like an easy way out, especially when it involves taking human life.
Cool. Would you say that your family also would believe this similar thing, or are you kind of an outlier in your beliefs?
I would say I'm more of an outlier, but
Yeah.
I would say as of right now, it's an even split. Yeah,
Within your family?
Within the family, yeah, because I didn't grow up in a Christian home. Some of my family members are Christian, some of them are not. So I think that kind of weighs heavily into this decision process.
Because you said you're from California.
Yeah, I am.
The first thing that would come to my mind would be like more liberal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's very true. Most of the coastline of California, and I grew up in the Central Coast, is very liberal. So that those ideologies are pushed heavily. As of the last couple of years, I've been able to kind of find my own value system through the scriptures, through the Bible, and that's my true north. That's where I believe truth comes from.
Truth.
Yeah. So
your compass.
yes, exactly. Yes.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Did you enjoy it? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.